So success is getting what you want, and happiness is wanting what you get.
Welcome to the 13th episode, right? The 13th episode?
Yes, sir.
The 13th episode of the School of Athens. And we got a guest today, Liam. What is up, brother?
What's up, brother?
Happy
to be on the podcast. We've
Happy
been speaking
and
for quite
grateful
some time,
to have you. We are actually here at his place here in Cape Town. We are in, is this Sea Point specifically?
This
or
is
what
Fresno.
Fresno.
So it's a part of Sea Point, I guess.
Sounds very elegant.
Yeah.
Fresno. It sounds like a overseas Europe type of thing.
Yeah, it sounds like I should get some kids, bro. It's pretty much a very residential area.
Fresno. Yeah. Well, this is beautiful. We actually we were thinking about filming outside on the tennis court, but unfortunately there's some sort of party going on here at the pool area. But in any case, it's still a lovely scene. So yeah, dude, I think there's a lot of people that watching the pod knows who you are because it's obviously sort of in the same industry. But I would love for you to just sort of introduce yourself to the people that don't know you. Yeah, how old you are, what you're doing, just the cliche.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Liam Bradshaw. I'm 20 years old. I almost said 19, man. For some reason, I'm in a habit of saying 19. Maybe I just want to be 19. I don't know. But yeah, so I've been doing e-commerce full-time for about a year now, primarily brand building. So I've built a couple different brands. At the moment, I have a portfolio of 2 different brands that I'm currently managing. And yeah, actively starting new things every day in my free time. I love working, so...
I heard you said on a recent podcast, like you started last year, October.
Yeah.
Wow.
We also started
That's
like last
very
year,
similar,
August,
yeah.
September.
So
It's crazy how things can just, ignite so quickly once you got the proof of concept.
Of course, man. I will say it was definitely a compounding effect from a lot of skills and a lot of different things that I tried, but actually making good money and serious money was when I went full into e-com, which was last year, October. Actually made money from it probably in November, so it took me like a month and a bit to actually make some good money. But
it's actually crazy. I actually told Udilia in the car on our way here, I have like this sort of like wall or like this canvas full of Polaroid photos of sort of like my life story or whatever from 18 up until now, so it's not quite a lot of photos, but I actually looked through a very pivotal moment, or like the photo, and I was like, yo, this guy doesn't know what's ahead. He's like, what? He doesn't even know what's happening. He has no idea what he wants to do. And I was like, yo, 2 years later, this guy's like traveling the world or whatever. And then I realized, wait, but this picture said it was 2023 November. I was like, what? Like, no ways all of this happened in a year. Like, you don't even, because it feels like we've been doing this for like so long.
But it's actually been a year so much.
Yeah, but
that we feel like we've lived a couple of years.
Of course, yeah. I mean, time goes very fast when you're busy, but looking back, it feels very long because there's more reference points,
That's a good point. And when I was looking back on that photo, I was like, yo, like this guy has no idea. And it feels like we've obviously only been in business for like a year. You also same. But there's a lot of things that added up to that point. When you say like you're only a year in business or whatever, it's like fair. But like before that, like what did you do to get yourself to that point? Obviously a lot of things. And I think, I said that on one of the calls we had with the community on Friday, it's not necessarily what you do, but it's what you don't do that will ultimately lead you to becoming your ideal self. So I'd actually love to know, I think it's quite a cliche question. I think we actually even joked about it before this, but what do you think is a couple of things that you did that set you apart from, I don't know, the other people? How old are you now?
I'm 20.
20. That's ridiculous. Okay, so what did you do, and what do you think you're currently doing that's setting you apart from, every like 99.9% of the rest of the 20-year-olds? That's not currently in your situation.
Of course, man. I think I always just followed my natural curiosity. Whenever I was curious about something, I went on YouTube, I searched it up, and I was always very quick to take action as well with everything. So thinking back, there's so many things that I did, there's so many things that I failed at, but at least I did it, and I picked up different skills along the way, which, coming back to e-com, which I ultimately still do to this day, and which I love, and which is actually making me money. All of those skills that I'd learned from all of those other things that all came together to do e-com successfully. So that's the one thing, followed my natural curiosity. Another thing was I became very, very vigilant on myself with becoming the type of person that was like worthy of living the life that I wanted. So even before I had anything, I would still embody the habits of the person that had what I wanted.
Oh, that's so crucial.
But I will obviously then, in order to do that, I needed to know what I wanted. So from 16 years old, I already had a vision board You know, I had written out the exact life that I wanted to live. I'd read that every day. So that obviously helped me to like see what I wanted to, the life I wanted to have, and then obviously know the type of person that I needed to be on a day-to-day basis.
Always two key factors that I noticed. It's clarity is number one, and then the second one is deservingness, if that's even a word, right? And like Charlie Munger says, the easiest way to get what you want is to deserve what you want, right? And I think Iman also says, it's a bit of a contradictory statement. He says, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you think you deserve. So what's your thoughts on that? Like, just being like this delusional, I deserve the best, without really putting in the work. And there's definitely some merit to it, like, thinking you deserve the greatest, and like you actually get it without working as hard. Do you think that's also like a...
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm torn between this point, because I recently started going more down like the metaphysical world and spirituality and stuff like that. And I truly believe that, like, if you know exactly what you want, and if you just take action every day, even if it's like not with a specific thing, like the world will kind of conspire in your favor, but it doesn't work if you're just sitting on the couch.
It meets you halfway.
So it meets you halfway. You don't need to know exactly how you're going to get to your goals, but you need to know exactly what your goals are, and then kind of opportunities will pop up as you just have that confidence and carry that throughout your actions. Key point, throughout your actions, you have to obviously take actions.
I agree on that. I think to add on to Andrew's statement, he said, wait, just quickly repeat that.
Charlie says, Charlie Munger, the easiest way to get what you want is to deserve it. But Iman says, like, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you think you deserve.
Because what you think you deserve
determines your actions.
It dictates your actions. That's exactly what I wanted to say, And I think with all this stuff, obviously also being in the bit more the metaphysical realm, meditation, or not necessarily that, but like affirmation, visualization. I mean, you said about identifying your goal, becoming clear with that, reading it every single day. And I think what all of those things come down to is essentially, and Chris Williams also speaks about this, you essentially just need to do the thing. You just need to take action, and you will then achieve it. But the problem is a lot of people tend to give up on taking action. And I think where the balance between, the metaphysical or whatever, and then the actually just taking action part is, you should see the metaphysical as just using that as a tool to reduce the friction to then be able to take action easier. Because if you do the affirmations, visualization, you become clear on your goal, and you truly believe it's possible, you will then able to then take action out of more confidence. Because it's difficult to take action. Like, let's, for example, 2 years ago, let's say when you were 18, okay, you had no idea, you had no proof that it's possible to make money online or on e-com or whatever, and everything that you tried up until that point failed. So there's no real reason for you to then back yourself to then take action on the journey you are currently on. And obviously you have to then substitute the lack of results with something else. And that would be ignorant belief or affirmations, visualization, or surrounding yourself with other people who have already achieved that from similar, backgrounds or whatever. And I think it's so important. Even in the Bible, it stands, don't be a sloth. But you can also repent. It's also the ability to repent, so no one is perfect, but they're very clear, like, don't be a sloth, okay? Don't be lazy. And adding on to what Liam also said, like, I truly believe if you ruthlessly take action and it's paired with ignorant faith, it will happen for you. And there's no other way to really look at it.
Yeah.
At least, at my current stage. Yeah.
I mean, it's very true what you said. It's like, if you don't truly believe it, your action is going to be half-assed, One problem comes up, okay, maybe this isn't for me, because you didn't even believe that you could do it anyway. So when you truly believe it, you have that boldness, and you have audacity in your actions. And when you have audacity, even if you make mistakes, that can easily be corrected with more audacity. So it's just about like having that audacious effort and truly believing it, like you said, which obviously creates that boldness.
Yeah, I'm also curious, like, how on earth at the age of 16 did you decide to create the vision board? Like, I was going on masters, like,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I went through a very transformational period with my friend group. Like, I got a girlfriend, and then there was like a whole bunch of issues there. We fell out. So I kind of ended up just being a bit of a loner, to be honest, in high school. And then, I'll be honest, like in the beginning, like I wanted to like make money and be successful, literally just to prove people wrong. It was like a fuck you type thing. Can I swear on the podcast?
Yeah,
okay,
that's fine.
Sometimes it pops out.
We'll rebuke it afterwards,
Okay. Yeah, so I was spending a lot of time at home. I always kind of had the mindset of that I wanted to, be successful. Just since I was young, when I was young, I started a YouTube channel. I was posting consistently every single week
Skateboard
from
videos.
the age of like 11, 12, skateboard videos, doing skateboard reviews and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
I started like a merch, not company. I just
always-
I made merch
Wow.
and then I sold the merch.
Always into content.
Yeah, always into content and stuff like that, which I'm actually coming back to more now. But besides that, I think I was lucky enough. I don't know if it's luck. I don't know if I believe in luck, but the world brought me to like money YouTube. So I found like ways to make money online and stuff. And I tried everything, bro. I tried drop shipping followers. I tried, like YouTube automation, like everything you can think of. And then I ended up joining a Discord server with a guy called Pete Fogden. He's a friend of mine now. And he was making money in South Africa, running a social media marketing agency. And then I was able to just surround myself with like people that completely opened up my eyes.
Was this at 16? How old are you?
This was like 16, 17, around then, yeah.
Okay. Yo.
And it's always you look at your age now, but what you actually need to look at is someone's entrepreneurial age. When people always say, like, when did you start? I'm like, in the womb. Like, where's like the, where do you actually start?
Yeah, measure
like
it from, yeah.
When you start
Like,
actually
what is start?
realizing
Yeah.
it's possible, when you start taking courses, when you start running ads, like, no, where do you actually start? I think with an agency, you could say it's when you start doing outreach. That's probably when you start,
Yeah,
like actually delivering your services or offering your services. In dropshipping or e-commerce, probably running the ads.
But I don't know, man, it's interesting because you say when you start, some people have had their parents gassing them up since they were 5 years old, saying you're the best, you're confident, whatever, and then they go on to be, the best salesman in the world.
That's also very true.
It's because their parents were literally instilling that belief since they were a little kid. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, my mom was definitely like that. I could trace her back. Even Scott Galloway, he talks a lot on podcasts, and he says his biggest thing is his mom when he was younger, just supporting him. Like, my mom was big, even though I didn't do well in science. My mom was like, yo, that's amazing. So it definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think a supportive immediate reality is so important, and that's why I think community mentorship is so crucial. I mean, Liam just spoke about it. I think Andre and I also in the beginning. I mean, it's difficult to take action on things if you don't know it's possible, and if your immediate reality is reinforcing the limiting beliefs that you have. Like, let's say if you are in an environment where people don't make 20K a month, online, like it's going to be tough to try and step into that reality and create it for yourself. And so that's why I think it's so crucial to then surround yourself with people that does that. Because I know I've mentioned this as well a couple of times, but your reality is created by the collective beliefs of the people around you, or at least I would say mostly, because that's all you see, and that reinforces your beliefs. And so how has mentorship and like just self-education in general been or sort of influenced your life? You're a big reader. Do you listen to podcasts, stuff like that? Yeah,
for sure. No, definitely a big reader, definitely a big learner. Something that you actually inspired me to do more of. But I've been reading since I was 16 as well. Like, always had a book that I was reading. Maybe I wasn't reading a book a week, but I was always reading books. 100%, man. I mean, even just taking money and investing it into a program or mentorship, it just, like, especially if it's a large amount, it creates commitment.
Andre always talks about that. Yeah,
that's like as simple as that. Even if you don't even get much information from the course itself, if you've invested money, you're gonna like try much harder to make it work.
It's a choice. That's the most the most valuable.
You're making that decision.
Exactly.
That's such a good point. We actually we're working with a consultant or coach or whatever with our community right now. And essentially, Andre and I came to the realization afterwards. Obviously, he helped us a fair amount, but I would say the biggest part where his inputs helped us was actually just reinforcing the belief that what we are doing currently is correct. Because we sort of already actually implemented everything that he was
we were
sort of telling.
We were like doing way beyond.
Yeah.
He was like, bro, this is more than enough.
And
we were like, should we
is
add
enough?
more stuff? Like, no, like this seems to be perfect at daytime. Like, he's just launched, bro. Like,
and the value of that service wasn't the information he was giving us. It was the affirmation from him telling us, oh, okay, this is correct. I give you permission to now take action. And because it came from an authority figure in that line of work, he has launched a lot of successful communities, specifically on school. I think they have the #1 one right now. And coming from someone like him, now I know it is right, and I was like, okay, cool, it's gonna work. And that, but it once again comes down to, it increased my belief, and now I'm willing to take action more fearsomely. You know, I think that's also a big part of mentorship. And I mean, we have all invested in so much mentorship. Well, the reason why I'm coming back to that is because information and curated information is a cheat code. You know, it's one thing to just read books, but it's another thing to curate the information that you are reading in a specific direction. You know, if you want to make money online, just everything, and doesn't even need to be reading, like podcasts, YouTube videos, all those things. It's gonna completely catapult you above your competition, you know.
100%. I mean, I think you said it. I don't know if one of you guys said it, but obviously the money that you make is pretty much directly proportional to the value that you are giving, right? And the value that you're giving is proportionate to the knowledge that you have. So let's say you're making 10K per month. You obviously never want to detract from that, right? It's actually very simple to just get to 20K. Like, obviously that's a low number. Maybe you just continue doing the same thing, right? But another way to do it is to just take what you know, gain some extra knowledge, and just compound on top of that. You know, and that's how you keep compounding and keep growing, is you're just compounding on what you already know. And obviously a lot of that is like largely attributed to just the knowledge that you have.
Yeah, and I think everyone follows like the same path with entrepreneurship. In one of my modules I also explained, it's like how bamboo grows. Oh, that one, you know the story of bamboo?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so essentially like the first, I'm not exactly sure on the time, but the first, I don't know,
It's
like
5 weeks.
5 weeks, you know, when you plant the seed, it grows like this big, right? Like a few inches. And then the last, I don't know, 30 days or so, it goes up like a few 100 feet. So that's essentially entrepreneurship. It's like the first 1 to 2 years, you're putting in all this work, all this action, taking courses, doing sales calls, doing all of this back-to-back no's, and then you just have to continue. You don't see any reward from your action, but then that's when people quit. That's also, who said this?
Alex.
No, it's not Alex. But like, you know,
Socrates.
being not satisfied, but optimistic during the waiting time, then you'll be successful. It's like taking action without seeing a reward for 12 months. That's what Alex said. You know, you have the world at your fingertips. Yeah. You just need to work without seeing the immediate results. And then like in like the second year or third year of entrepreneurship journey, it's like boom. And then everyone's like, what just happened? But they didn't see the work 2 years prior.
And that comes once again down to like, it's going to be difficult to take action, because I mean, essentially also what Andre was just saying now is like the fruits of your labor, there's a delayed sort of
latency.
Yeah, there's latency on that. You know, you take action now, but you won't see the results for maybe 2 years or whatever. And so it is difficult to continue taking action on something if you don't see the results of that immediately. And so that once again comes down to, you're gonna fail if you don't believe it's possible. And it's difficult to believe it's possible. Well, for some people more than others. Like, I think, I'm actually not sure how you are.
No, I can tell Liam was just like, obviously.
Yeah, well, like Andre is exactly the same, bro. He's
same.
like just very, I mean, I would say it's a good thing, but he was just completely like delusionally optimistic. Like, oh, well, I'm just the best. It's just what it is. I had to see a bit of results for me to then tap into that belief. And so that's why I once again came back to, when I first went to Greece this year to meet up with a lot of the other entrepreneurs, that was probably one of the best experiences of my life, because I met a 19-year-old, Keegan. What's his name? Keegan. What an exceptional guy. But like, I mean, he's 19, he was making 40K a month, and he did that in his first 1 or 2 months of starting the business. And I was like, this guy is making 40K a month. That's US, by the way, for South African boys. Like, you can't even conceptualize that amount of money. He made that in one month, and he's 19. Like, that is ridiculous. And so I was like, okay, if this guy can do it, he's 3 years younger than me. I am now giving myself permission to now do the same. And yeah, I think that's sort of all what it came down to.
For sure. I mean, I will say there was definitely a lot of mental battles that I had to face, bro, when I was getting started. You know, I always believed that I could do it, but just more short term. I definitely had doubts, for sure. But what other option did I have? You know, I knew the life that I wanted. Am I just going to now give up because it's not working? No, I'm going to keep going. You know, like if I give up, then I'm definitely not going to succeed. But if I keep going, then at least then there's a chance. You know, like I burnt the bridges. My parents wanted me to go to university. I said, no, I'm not going to go to university. Give me 1 year. I'm going to be fully independent. I'm going to make my own money. And if I don't, then I'm going to go to university. You know, but I couldn't stand the thought of that, bro. As soon as I started making money, I got out of my parents' house. Nothing against them, but I just needed to get out. Like, so what other option did I have?
My soul would die, you know. It's like, it would just, from the inside out, it would not be worth living. If you know the life that's possible. And you don't necessarily need to see it from people around you. You can see it on people online. That's the cool thing. Like I didn't have the like the community, right? Because I wasn't valuable enough, right, in the marketplace, whatever. So I had to like see the community on internet, and I'm like, wow, these guys can do it, surely. And that's obviously what.
Yeah. But I do think also like joining a community, we're not trying to sell anything right here, I hope not. But actually speaking to people is definitely much more effective than just seeing the flashy lifestyle online, because you can easily like, you know, you watch a movie and you see a nice car, you go on Instagram, you see a nice car, what's the difference? You're looking at a screen for both, like for both examples, you know? I was going to say something else, but I forgot. You can go.
Yeah, I mean, coming back to your point now, I'm just thinking about this. I want to conceptualize it now.
Okay, I'll say what I was going to say. Just going off what we were speaking about before. It's like, if you're struggling with motivation or even struggling to believe that you can do it, just give yourself no other option. You know, like something that I even do now, if I'm going through periods where maybe I'm like not doing so well or the business isn't doing so well, I intentionally spend more money. Because then I'm like, oh shit, like I need to do something. You know, like I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but in the beginning I was always operating out of desperation. I had no money, my parents didn't have any money, so I needed to make money to live the life that I wanted and to actually be comfortable, right? Then I got to the point where I was making some money, you know, I was able to give my parents some money, and then I had like zero motivation and I felt very unfulfilled too. So I had to then shift that from a place of desperation. I either had to shift it from a place of desperation to inspiration, get extremely inspired to take things to the next level, or I needed to just kind of make myself desperate again. So I kind of do a bit of a combination of both now.
That's a very good point. We can definitely get into that. That's something that Andre and I have sort of talked about on, I think, on one of our pods also, you know, the survival state and operating out of a place of abundance. You know, it's sort of those two states. I think in the beginning, especially, you are prone to operate more out of desperation or the survival state, just because, you know, your immediate things that you have to take care of is stuff that needs your intention right now. You know, if you have bills to pay or whatever, you have to take action, otherwise you're going to lose that thing. So that is operating out of place of survival. It's like you just need to do it. You're sacrificing no matter what. You just need to, it's like mimicking running away from a lion or something. It's like in that state, you're in the survival state, you're running through bushes, you're not thinking about providing for your family or like, am I going to get hurt or scraped from the tree or like whatever. You're just running, getting away from the lion. The best road, and in that moment, it's probably the best move to make short term. You know, but if you take that over a long enough time frame, you know, how realistic is that for you to be able to continue in that state of mind? And also, you know, long term, you probably are not making the best decisions, you know? And so, I mean, coming back to, for example, the community that Andre and I are building right now, that is born out of a place of abundance. When we were in Bali, you know, we can talk about traveling now, because I know you just came back from Europe, but for Andre and I, you know, it was difficult to do deep work and really dial in on some monument. Like you can't really, you know, do any crazy deep work because you're just traveling a lot. There's a lot of variables. Nothing is isolated, you know, moving around. You don't really know where to get your raw milk or your eggs or whatever. So you're just doing some light work and being creative. But obviously there's a lot of other benefits from that. Creativity, seeing new things, new elements, being exposed to new people, new paradigms. And out of that place, and also not really worrying about bills to pay, School of Athens was born. And I think that's very cool what you just said. Now I think it was inspiration. What did you say? Desperation was inspiration. That's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I'll say also, when your motivation is at its peak, you know, when you have nothing, when you're extremely hungry, use that, you know, because it's not always going to be there. You know, build systems, like put in an overwhelming, like irrational amount of work when you have the desire to do so. Because for me personally, I lost that desire to, you know, wake up at 4. Like you can obviously shift it, like I said, but I lost the desire naturally to wake up early, grind the whole entire day, and not care about anything else. You know, so when you do have that desire, when you do have that effortlessly, build systems that are going to pay you in the long run as well. You know, make sure you set everything up correctly so that it can be sustainable, so they can continue making you money when maybe you do want to, you know, pull yourself back from the business a bit.
How do you think it's sustainable to because obviously now we know what we are capable of, you know, putting in 14-hour days, whatever, waking up at 4, going to bed at 11 or what, just waking up with 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Do you think it's a good idea to strive to want to operate out of that place for the rest of your life? You know, like do you want to be in a survival state for long periods, or do you think you need to see it as sprints? Or how would you go about that now? You know, because you have obviously ascended from that. Now you sort of lost that drive a bit. Maybe out of abundance now, all the bills are paid. Now you're sort of just doing bonus levels or whatever.
Yeah, comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable. So what do you think? Do you think it's important to tap into energy like that again?
Well, I think it depends what you're optimizing for as well, you know, because you get billionaires that have been in that state their whole life and they're still worried that they're going to lose everything.
Oh, that's a very good point.
So, yeah, I think if you are in that state permanently, you're going to lose it. But I do think it takes a very intentional shift to get out of that to a place of inspiration, which is what I was saying, you know. But I think everything that, whenever I've had that, like sprints, going back, I've operated more in sprints. So I'll be at a stage, I'll be like, all right, you know, this is nice, but, you know, I really want to take things to the next level now. You know, it's like you go out, you meet people, you travel, you meet people on a higher level than you, and then you get inspired. Then you go back to the desk and you sit and you get yourself to that point. You get yourself to that point, then you sit, you enjoy again, and then you maybe okay, I'm happy like this, or maybe no, I want to go to the next level. That's kind of how I operate. But like I said, it depends what you're optimizing for, you know?
Yeah.
Are you optimizing for progress? Are you optimizing for peace? Are you optimizing for just money? Are you optimizing for happiness? What are you optimizing for, you know?
And people say that, you know, life is a marathon, not a sprint. I believe it's just sprints and then rest. Like Naval also said, you should operate like a lion. It's like you rest most of the day, and then when the opportunity presents itself, you go just sprint for like 8 weeks, and then you rest. You know, and rest can be seen as like travel. You know, that's where the creativity comes from. It's the switching from those two. I think it's also difficult, and the easiest way to do that is to travel, because you change the environment. And the real motivation comes from desperation. You know, you are motivated to go to sleep when you are desperate for sleep, when you're like, you worked hard. You're motivated to drink water when you are desperate for water. So like when you put yourself in that state of desperation by spending money on traveling and ads and that kind of thing, it's like now you have to work hard, like you're motivated to work hard. So you're kind of cultivating that state. When you're in a comfortable spot, it's difficult to be motivated.
And we could even talk about opportunity, because what is opportunity? You know, like for me, I believe that opportunity or luck is when opportunity meets preparedness, right? So like we said, don't work in a marathon state, you know, just systematically doing work. Sometimes I'll sit down at my desk and I'll be like, okay, I don't actually have work to do, but what buttons can I click to like make, you know, 0.0001% progress in my business? It's like, no, that's not actually the right mindset. You should always be prepared by, you know, being healthy, optimizing for knowledge, being the type of person that's prepared for when opportunity presents itself. So then you can take that opportunity and you can pounce on it, like you said, like a lion. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think people would love to sort of get into your travels for the past couple of months. I think you were in Europe, if I'm right. How do you think? What are some benefits that you like? Obviously, traveling and stuff like that, and exposing yourself to and meeting people. I know you met up with a couple of people and being exposed to different paradigms. What is a couple of things you maybe learned on your trip? And then, you know, I know when we were speaking over that call, I'm not sure actually when we did. Oh, when we were in Dubai, we jumped on a call, right? Then you said you're sort of excited to come back because you want to really get settled back in and focus on work. How's your experience with working abroad as well, like traveling the whole time?
So there's definitely some positive, there's definitely some negative too. We'll get into both. Even what you said, you know, should I do negative or positive first?
Dude, let's do negative first. Yeah.
All right, so negative.
Maybe where did you travel?
We'll give him some context. For like the past 3 months or so, I was in Europe, can only be there for 3 months because of the visa situation as a South African. But where all did I travel? I went to France, I went to Greece, I went to like 9 different islands in Greece.
Wow.
I went to Budapest, so Hungary. I went to Poland, I went to Spain, I went to Italy. I think that's it.
That's it.
Wow.
That's
it.
And I went to the Netherlands.
Oh, Netherlands.
I went to the
Okay.
Netherlands.
That's why Europe is so cool. Like you can
Wow,
just like,
yeah, just
Yeah.
climb on a
everywhere.
train.
So I don't know, that's like 7
Wow.
different countries or something.
Where in Greece did you go? We were in Thessaloniki, and I think that was the only place that we were. Yeah, we didn't even go to Athens. Can you
We
believe?
were in
That's
Athens for
crazy.
30
Like
minutes.
what? Yeah, essentially. But where were you in Greece? Like, what was?
Yeah, so I went to Athens and then I was on a boat actually, just going from island to
So
island for
islands
like
apparently beautiful.
a week. Yeah, man, it's insane.
Wow.
It's insane. But yeah, negative. So it's very difficult to be in a routine. Obviously, it's very unproductive traveling. So if you're in a period of your life where you need to be sitting at the desk doing work, you know, travel, of course, travel. But just realize that it's going to be probably a lot harder.
Yeah.
But with that, with moving around, does come inspiration. You know, when you're sitting at your desk in the same place all day, it's very mundane. And when your environment is mundane, so will your brain. So if you're moving around, you're going to be more creative, you're going to be more inspired. That's a negative and a positive there. Another negative is that I realized that just like anything in life that releases dopamine, it becomes, the high becomes worse and worse each time. So I wouldn't say worse, none of my travels were bad, but when I first went to Europe, I was in a random little village in France, and that was insane. First time in Europe, out of the country. Then I went to Greece. Then I was in like 10 different islands in Greece. That was way too much stimulation for my brain.
Yeah.
Because then I went to 5 different countries after that.
Baseline almost.
I went to 5 different countries after that, and it's like they just weren't hitting. You know, it's like you do a drug, your dopamine spikes.
Yeah.
You do a drug the next day, it's still gonna spike, but it's gonna be a little bit
lower,
less. It's the exact same thing with traveling. So I got to the point where I was like, you know, I need to just chill for a bit, and I should probably actually go home. And I don't need to travel this much. You know, like it literally just got to the point where it's like I became numb to like seeing new places.
That's a very good point actually, because when we were in Thailand for 2 weeks, and then after that I went to Bali for about 2-3 weeks. I think Andrew was in Bali for a month, and by the end of Bali, I couldn't wait to go back home to start dialing in on work, you know. And I think it also all comes down to like what you said. It's like when we landed in Thailand, I was like, let's fucking go, you know. It's like we're in Thailand and we're out of South Africa and we're in the sun and everything. And by the end of Bali, I'm like, yo, like I just want to eat some steak. I'm missing all the stuff that you don't get overseas anymore, you know. Like I actually think, coming back to what Andrew also said now, well, essentially what Liam also said, I think that's a good way to look at it, is to do the sprints, you know. Work hard for a period of time, just focus on work, don't tap into any leisure time or whatever, and maybe do that for like a month or 2, depending on how you operate, and then maybe, you know, take 3 weeks off, then go overseas to Bali or whatever. You can still do some light work there, but then tap more into being present or whatever. Because I know you guys as well, we enjoy working. And so that doesn't make sense to someone that doesn't like what they do. But if you enjoy what you do, like it's actually like it's possible to enjoy the work, you know. And
it's like passion, but I think you should earn your passion. I'm not sure if you agree with this, but like, you know, the agency we are running, like I always knew from the absolute start, the agency was like a stepping stone. It was not like the final destination. I know, like when I even started my YouTube 2 years ago, it's like I didn't even have an agency, but I was like, okay, the agency is not the end goal. I knew like the consulting or like that kind of thing, which is essentially like the School of Athens. That's kind of the longer term play. But the agency was more like a authority play almost, so people can actually trust you to learn from. So there's stages.
What was like the main thing that you learned on your travels? You know, I learned something monumental in Thailand and in Bali, both separately. Is there something, obviously moving around, you exposed to so many new elements and paradigms. What was something that really shifted things for you when you came back?
To be honest, man, it was meeting the people that I did and realizing that I ain't shit, you know, like I met a lot of people that were absolutely killing it in business, like a lot of people. I also joined the entrepreneurship group out there, and I met a lot of killers, you know, just like normal guys that were the same as me, all making, you know, 30, 40, 50K per month. Like I'm on those levels, but I felt like my ego was much bigger before I went because I was just here in South Africa. It's obviously much cheaper. You feel a lot richer, and there's not as many people. There's starting to be a lot more people popping up, but there's not as many people actually doing well, you know. So I just realized that like I needed to kind of drop my ego, and I also with regards to my personal brand that I'm building, I was previously just trying to tap into South Africa the whole time. And the issue with that is that I do have a program that I sell on the back end, and the majority of the time, like the leads that I was getting, people just genuinely couldn't afford it. You know, so I was still very tied to South Africa, and I thought that that was my moat. I thought that that was my edge, that I was South African. And I just spoke to some people, and I realized that, like, you know, why do I believe that I cannot impact the rest of the world too? You know, why do I believe that I'm just special in South Africa? You know, that was a limiting belief that I had. And I had to shift it to be like, I'm special, I'm unique, I'm exactly who I am. And anyone in the world, anywhere in the world, can resonate with that too and be inspired by it, you know? So that was transformational for me to just like take my personal brand and take my influence to the next level as opposed to just operating in South Africa.
Yeah, I mean...
which I think a lot of people have that limiting belief with business as well. I think they're South African, they can only operate in South Africa. No one overseas is going to hire them. Or they're going to have to put on some accent.
That's
you know, they're going to have to say that they're in a
can't-
different place. You know, it's the exact same thing.
It's all a limiting belief. You know, when I hop on a sales call, it's the complete opposite. So it's all a belief, and they come with that belief on the call, and then they expect that they're going to ask that question, and they're like, oh,
And then they ask the
yeah.
question.
But like when I say, I have this belief that people love South Africans. So when they ask, oh, where are you from? I say, oh, from South Africa. They're like, oh, it's so cool, it's awesome. Here's my money. You know, like, not really, but like, you know, they love South Africans. People always have clients here. Oh, I've got a client in Johannesburg. So it's a complete limiting belief, like the accent and everything like that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it was quite crazy. In the beginning of this year, or when we spoke to Jordan Platten, he said, you know, one of the best business you can start right now in South Africa is a recruitment agency. Just because, and at that point, I can be a bit wrong with the numbers, but, you know, he had, let's say he had 15 people working for him, employees. 6 or 7 of them were from South Africa. And like 2 of them came from Durbanville. That's where we're under an hour from, you know. So and that was quite crazy. I think Jordan is based in the UK or something. But essentially, you know, he said like a lot of people want to work with South Africans because obviously the rates are a bit cheaper here. But our English is good, you know. We understand what they are saying, you know, and also the work ethic is good here. So people like South Africans, but it's difficult to not pre-approve them. But like, where would you even find someone in South Africa, you know? So recruitment agency is actually a very good thing. That's sort of something we are trying to tackle the community as well, because obviously if you're going to be in the community, you're going to have interest in the online business space. But yeah, that is definitely a limiting belief. A lot of people do say like, oh, but you know, I can't. I'm a South African, all they're going to work with me, but that is the complete opposite. You know, it's definitely a limiting belief.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some hurdles that you need to jump over, but I mean, it's a simple thing of, okay, if someone else has done it, there's a way.
exactly.
You know?
Yes, that's what I realized a lot is when there's like a couple of people who learn. It's like 4 types of learners. It's the first one is like Elon Musk. No one has done it, therefore I'm going to do it. The second one is someone has done it, therefore I can do it. The third one is like it's not going to work for me, and the fourth one is like I'm going to show how it's not going to work for me or something like that. So most people, you know, obviously Elon Musk, there's just like one of him. Like there's no one who's going to do it. I'm going to go to Mars. And then there's a second guy, like Marcus Aurelius also said, if it's, you know, if someone has achieved it, consider it within reach, right? So if he can do it, and also I heard this from Serge, I think he says when you meet these millionaires, you're going to be very disappointed because you put them on this pedestal on YouTube and it causes a separation when you watch them. But when you meet them in person, you're like, this guy, surely I can do it. So you'll be a bit disappointed when you meet these like high level guys. Obviously they're very successful in their field. Not really disappointed, but expectations are going to be lower because you put them on this pedestal.
Yeah.
You shouldn't put success on a pedestal because then you're constantly chasing. When you chase runs away.
And looking back now from your travels, do you feel like you would, because you're obviously predominantly based in South Africa, right?
Yeah.
Would you want to move abroad permanently, or do you think like you would base yourself in South Africa still?
I definitely like the freedom to be able to move abroad if I want to, which is why I run online businesses,
exactly.
you know. So I'm definitely going to stick in that realm. But no, man, I mean, I think every single time I've traveled, I've came back and I've just appreciated South Africa more and more and more. And, you know, like foreigners always come here, they say they absolutely love the place. And, you know, I always was like, yeah, you know, like it's nice, whatever.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's all right. But then when you leave and you come back, you actually do genuinely really appreciate it.
Andre also said, you know, you need the contrast. The contrast is what brings the gratitude for what you have. Like if someone gives you something, or like, let's say for example, if your father buys you a car, it's like you're going to be grateful for it, of course, but go and purchase it yourself. It's a completely different ball game. That was maybe not the best example, but like
that's more about putting an effort.
Okay, that's not the best example. But like we are born, okay. But we are born in South Africa, okay. So we got this beautiful place, and now obviously we are used to it. Like this is now our baseline. So when you start traveling, going to all these places, you realize the food quality is not as good. The places aren't really that beautiful. The people aren't always happy to see you or whatever. And then when you come back, it's just like, wow, just look at this place. Fresh air at the beach, but there's mountains. The food is good. You got steak here for cheap. It's like, this is heaven, actually. But you need the contrast to appreciate it, essentially. And I think what you just said now, which is very valuable, is it's not necessarily traveling that is valuable, but it is the freedom, but it's more like that you are able to do that if you want to.
Of course,
it's the ability to be able to tap into it if you want to, and not ask your boss, can I take off for 2 weeks please, and then you don't really have the money for it.
I'm curious, so obviously we say you need the contrast, do you think there's a way to tap into that appreciation without the contrast?
Yes,
because there is some things in life where it's like it would be detrimental to, like, let's say for example you with a girl, and you're not gonna like go get some contrast to appreciate her.
That's a good point. No, I think if you take, it's all just human nature to an extent. So you want to leverage human nature, essentially. Like you don't really
Machiavellian.
No, I'm looking at I'm trying to get a good example here. But like if you're mindful about it, you're self-aware, you are able to tap into gratitude no matter what the circumstances externally. Because essentially, how you react to the world is you have full control over that. But it's much easier to just tap into that if you just get the contrast going.
I think the best way to practice that is to withhold from it. So like with fasting. You fast for like the 18 hours, and then when you eat, you're like, goodness gracious. But if you have it like constantly, like Andrew Tate as well, he fasted for 48 hours from water, and then when he drank that water, he was so grateful of it. So, you once didn't have a girlfriend, so you can tap back into that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like recent. It can be when I was broke like a couple of years ago, I can think back to it. It doesn't have to be like, I don't have to spend all my money now and then bring it back, and you can like,
but that's a
memory.
That's a very good question, because you can now take that back into the money thing from, like, for example, I'm not actually sure who said this, but when you if you want to make more money, then you just need to spend more to then increase the not the friction, but like the motivation, desperation. I'm gonna lose if I don't make more money.
I think Liam said that.
But then you need it. But that comes from the question as well. It's like, do you need to do that if you can just tap into it? Like you can just tap into it, but it's difficult because we are lazy, essentially. But if you do that, you are forcing yourself to do that. And I also think what Andrew said now makes a lot of sense. Like, I think it's very important to at least travel once in your life, because now you can consciously go back and try and relive that moment. So if there's sometimes I'm waking up like today, whatever, but now I meditate on like the travel to Thailand or Bali or whatever, and I'm like, well, this is good. Like, I'm glad I'm here, got my steak, and then I get back into the groove, But if you have never had that experience, like, you can't tap into, because you don't know what you don't know, And it's those unknowns that's where it's really at, because you don't even know to ask that question, because you don't even know the question is there, it doesn't even exist.
And it's also not expensive to travel. Like, you can literally go to Bali, obviously, cover the flight. Then you can stay in a backpackers for like 100 rand, like $5 a day.
How was
bro.
Bali for you?
Bali was nice, man. I don't think I would live there, but I'll definitely have periods where I go back there.
Oh yeah.
I just found that it didn't quite inspire me the way that other places do. It was a beautiful place, but I just feel like it's very easy to get stuck on a certain level there, which is just the period of time that I'm in my life right now. I do want to take things a bit higher than what Bali necessarily needs, if that makes sense.
I love that place. Oh my goodness, it is like, if you're looking at where did you stay in Bali?
I stayed in Canggu
for
the majority of the
also
time.
in Canggu, Did you go to Uluwatu any
I went for like a day.
Yeah,
Uluwatu is amazing.
It's just just for me, obviously, it's there's so much because we went to like Bamboo, the gym there, and like the places to eat, and the people that I met there was just so, it's almost effortless to be healthy there. And we never, like I told, who was this? I think it was, who did I tell this to? Oh no, it was yesterday or with James. But I told him, I essentially wear one linen pants, like a short, and barefoot without a shirt 24/7. And we went to restaurants like that. We went to the beach. We went to the gym. And that's sort of the vibe I'm into. But I can understand what you were saying with the sort of like, there's no real crazy entrepreneurs that permanently live there.
Yeah, it's also what we go back to, like pressure. I felt zero pressure there. Everything was
yeah.
extremely cheap. I was staying in a massive villa and I was paying the same that I would pay for a studio apartment here in Cape Town, So I love the place. It's amazing. But just for the period that I'm in my life right now, like financially, which is what I'm more optimizing for, is like I just needed more pressure than Bali.
Yeah, I would like to know what's like your definition of freedom.
That's a good question. I think freedom ultimately on a high level is just being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. But then you might not have freedom of the mind, So I think I've battled with this too because, I've been free. Like everything about my life would scream freedom, but then I would trap myself by setting goals, which would then make me not free again, And I was thinking about this a lot when I was in Spain, because there was like so many nice cars. I was in Marbella, beautiful place in Spain, and I was like, I'd made the decision. I was like, I want to buy like a Porsche, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a Porsche soon, and then I was like, I'm trapping myself with that idea of like buying a Porsche, because as soon as I get a Porsche, it's not going to change anything. It's not going to move any needle in terms of freedom, in terms of how I feel about myself, in terms of how I feel inside. So I think a lot of people trap themselves with, physical possessions. But I still believe that I'm free because ultimately I can do whatever I want, whenever I want,
Like Naval said, the desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you've acquired the thing.
Exactly, yeah.
So you are literally telling yourself to be unhappy, but also that creates a bit of motivation, right? So it's trade-offs with everything. And it's not necessarily, like freedom for me is it's the choice to do something. So people think that when they achieve whatever goal, they're going to be free. It's the choice to travel, like it's the choice to work. But then when you choose to work, you actually enjoy it. But when you have to Monday to Friday, it's like, but you don't really want to. I can take off Thursday and work Friday, Saturday. I can do that. It's the choice that ultimately gives me the freedom. I can choose to work 7 days a week as well. So if I want to, and that's I think where the best work is also.
Yeah, I think feeling free is doing what you want to do, not necessarily being able to do whatever you want to do. It's actually doing what you want to do,
Exactly.
Because a lot of the time people are free, even if you take people that have millions, but they don't really feel free because they don't actually know what to do with their free time, so then they're like trapped in their own mind, if that makes sense,
It's freedom of and freedom from.
What do you, that's actually, because do you think there'll ever be a point where you'd be like, okay, it's enough? Like, like I am enough.
Early 20s, early 20s.
No, of course not. But like, I mean, just to think about the figures that people are like, I was with in Dubai, all these places, like you guys obviously, for 99% of the people out there in the world, like more than enough is what you guys are doing right now, and like, but that's obviously why they are where they are and why everyone else is here, so that's obviously a point there. But do you think there'll ever be like a point where you're like, okay, this is enough, like I can focus on, but then it comes back to like, but you enjoy doing business and you probably just still build a business, but 100%. You won't be trapped with like, okay, let me build up my expenses so that I can now make more money and achieve more goals, because I think in there somewhere, I'm also not sure, but I think in there somewhere there is an illusion of freedom because you are stuck in the process of trying to always be better. And I think there can be something detrimental in that. And it's disguised as something beautiful.
Yeah, for me, man, like a lot of people say like, does money make you happy or whatever? I don't think money makes me happy. Like feeling enough, if we say happiness, we can kind of like put that on the same thing, right?
Happiness can mean so many things.
So like people say like, does money make you feel enough? Does it make you feel happy? Whatever it may be. It's like, no, the actual money doesn't, but progressing does. When I'm actively seeing, and money is a byproduct of progression because I'm in business.
It's easy to measure.
It's easy to measure. It's quantitative. And then also like, so when I'm progressing, that's when I feel good. When I'm not progressing, even if I got, millions in the bank, like I don't necessarily feel good. And also, I could go on a tangent here. Let me hear you guys' thoughts on that.
So like, the happiness thing is, as we mentioned in the beginning quote, it's wanting what you get. So it's actually being appreciative of the things you actually acquired. So, and I think Naval also said it's the mark of a successful person who get what they want out of this world. So essentially, not dying with more desires. That's back to Quentin's point where, you are essentially enough.
Yeah. Because then if you just start off with just, well, that's also a good point, because you either change your reality to fit your desire, or you bring your desire down to fit your reality, essentially.
What did Buddha say, in Bali?
Yeah.
I want to be happy.
This is crazy. Wait. Before you do this, okay? So Andre and I were sitting in somewhere, I'm not even, but like, this is the thing, like, you can't contemplate the meaning of life and it will ever be enough or whatever if you have nothing.
It's
like
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Because why? Because you're in a survival state, you need to pay the bills, you're worrying about all these things. And it's difficult to contemplate the meaning of life. So Andre and I was sitting in a restaurant and we were like, okay, bro, like, monk or the lion, what are we? Like monk or warrior? Like where's the middle line? And then,
so someone asked the Buddha, like, I want to be happy, right? So essentially said, remove I because that's ego.
Yeah, well, you asked the Buddha, I want to be happy. How do I do that?
Yes. Oh, I want happiness.
Oh, I want happiness.
Yes. So I said, remove I because that's ego. Remove want because that's desire, and then you're left with happiness.
Yeah. And there's a balance of because I fully agree, and I find myself more in your position than not. Like always setting new goals, because essentially that's the only reason why we are here right now, is because we have sort of not delayed gratification, but we were like, okay, I'm all right with not tapping into that now for potential benefits in the future, and just like always trying to progress. But I think it's very dangerous, and you don't want to get lost in that. And so I think it's a good point. Like even Ty Lopez, which is obviously a big mentor of ours, I know Andre as well, is like he said, you need to have what did he say? Like a number for...
getting rich, you want to get in and get out. Like you want your number.
Yeah. Like what is your buyout?
What's your number?
Yeah, like what is one number? Like if you had to pick, like it's usually just the first number that comes to your head, but like if you have that number, now you can generally now you don't need to set any more financial goals.
Yeah, I've also pondered on this thought a lot, and like before I always said 100 million, I'm going to shoot 100 million, get a massive super yacht, big ass house. But now I've decreased that a lot because I've realized that there's more important things in life. And now it's just like 20 M's. Like if I get 20 M's,
that was literally the first number that came up to me right now.
$20 million,
Yeah.
That's exactly, and you don't even need that much, bro. Like, but like obviously that is like if you have that, like what else do you like? I mean,
but
why would you
it
even
just
want
comes
to?
down to progress, like Liam said. It's just a game. You're playing the game.
Yeah, but then you can like. I'm not saying I'm gonna operate out of desperation until 20 M's, but when I'm at 20 M's, I can definitely take a step back and just focus on more strategic, high-level plays,
Because like then it's not gonna be a measurement of like, oh, I didn't wake up at 4 a.m. to do deep work. It's like you're not gonna really worry about that, Then you can really focus on, because like also who is it, like Jeff Bezos, like he just lies in the bed for the first hour and a half like every day. He doesn't really, it's not like he just jumps out of bed, I need to do this, do that, whatever, because that's just not healthy. And who wants to live like that? I think there's a difference between, like, the virtue does not lie in the hard work that you put in. I think, I think it's just measured about your results and the output. Like, I don't think, because a lot of people, like, tend to be like, okay, I'm working so hard, that means I'm doing good. It's like, well, no, like... There's a lot of people out there that works a lot harder than me, but they're in the wrong business model. They're not working smart, and they're just not enjoying life.
I've got a very interesting fact. Did you know the top 10 wealthiest people in the world have more wealth than the bottom 3.5 billion people combined?
10
crazy. People have more wealth than 3.5 billion. So do you think they are working 3.5 billion times harder? No chance. So it's not about hard work. No. It's not about hard work at all. But it's smart work. Like if you could choose between the two, I would definitely choose smart work.
But there is obviously a point, and I'm not sure, like, you guys can help me if I'm wrong with this now, or if I'm conveying it incorrectly. But like you have to... in the beginning, you don't really have a lot of value or whatever and systems in place. So you have to trade in your time and effort to then be able to get the financial gain or whatever. But essentially, when you get to a certain point, now you can start using finances to now purchase other people's skills to then source that out. and then you can start, you know, just focusing on the sort of the bigger picture stuff. And so there is a point in your life where you're going to have to really put your head down and really just grind it out, and that's sort of the only way you can do it. But you can't stay in that, because if you stay in that, that's all you're going to be doing, and you can't move the needle forward. Like if your main thing is, for example, what's a good point? I actually don't know how to expand on that.
I 100% agree with what you're saying though.
Yeah.
It's like you get to the point where you can kind of obviously use money as a tool, but it's also a bit more than that. Like obviously if we invest in communities and if overall just meet people, you can always find a way to make money. Like I literally made money today because I joined a group that I was in, and they offered different services, and then opportunity arose and presented itself to me where someone was looking for that service, and I was just the middleman, and I facilitated the deal, and I literally just like drop shipped the service from it, like from a group that I paid to join, you know.
Wow.
But the beginning stages, the beginning is so hard.
Survival state. That's
no, you have zero momentum. You have nothing. It's so hard. But once you get past that stage, like the first couple, you're like 1 to 2 years, it's so easy because like there's just opportunities everywhere. It's just like I don't know how to explain it, but you probably know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But you're also that person now. Like that's the thing. Like you are used to that type of work ethic, and that's a very good point. Like in the beginning, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
It's so difficult because
so hard.
And
you're just not used to that. You know,
it's
your
definitely not about
dopamine is still
money
like
either.
on playing games, and you're still trying to figure out how do I stop playing games and all this other nonsense. It's like now you come to a point where you really enjoy doing things, you know, that is productive. I think that's a very big thing. Is dopamine what do you call it? Like realigning your dopamine, you know, to now enjoy the things that are productive, and that's not, you know, Xbox or going out and partying or whatever. Like I don't think like those things are very like super
I still
bad.
party.
But like I mean, not every single day, you know. When I mean, it's a very
And you're also
cultural thing
partying with
in
different
Africa.
people. You know,
and it's more intentional. But there was obviously periods, especially in the beginning, where I had to completely withhold myself from that, you know. And especially in the culture of South Africa, it's very normal for teenagers to be alcoholics and every single weekend party on Friday and Saturday. Like that's 100% normal, you know. And like especially in your youth, when you have nothing to lose, that is so valuable time that you are giving up. And so actually, Andre and I did a segment of this in Dubai as well. And then I told them, you know, there was a point where I was saying no to going out so that I can work. And then I was at home, and then I was anyways procrastinating and not working. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm withholding myself from experiencing, you know, moving relationships forward, you know, having a good time with friends, because that is valuable, of course. And I was hopefully going to give that up to move my business forward, but I was anyways procrastinating on that. And so the thing that really helped me to take action on the weekends was to realize that I'm giving up something beautiful here, which is to socialize, for the potential benefit of, you know, growing my business. But it's only potential. You have to actualize that by taking action. And that's what sort of motivated me to take action on the weekends. It's like a funny thing I just,
Yeah, no, I've been in that boat 100% too, but I will be 100% honest. Like, I never really went through a period where I completely gave up socializing, like as a whole. I wasn't necessarily hanging out with people that were good for me, but I never went through the point where I was like locked in for like 3 months not seeing anyone, you know? And in a way, there's obviously two ways to look at this. Like, in a way, it actually helped me, because what would happen is that I would be locked in for, let's say, maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks, and I would start feeling like I'm getting burnt out. You know, like my focus would start decreasing, my motivation would start decreasing, and maybe I would go out on the weekend. Maybe I'd get super drunk, and then I would like have like a bit of regret the next morning for getting drunk, and that would just ignite my fire again. So it's like almost falling back into a bad habit reaffirmed to me what I didn't want to be like, and it made me extremely motivated to go way harder again on Sunday and Monday. That's not traditional advice. I'm not saying, you know, if you're feeling demotivated, go get drunk. But I'm saying sometimes for me, falling back into a bad habit or a bad way of living just reaffirmed that I didn't want to live that way, made me motivated to get myself out of that hole, and then I would come back on Monday or the next day and be literally so much more motivated again. Does that make sense?
That actually makes a lot of
forward,
sense. Yeah.
1 step back, 2 steps forward.
I was completely different though. Like I had to completely withhold myself from experience, because when I was going out as well, like I was surrounding myself with everything I didn't want to be. So it was difficult for me to enjoy that, knowing that, oh my word, I'm broke. and I'm like don't look good physically, like I'm not happy with what I'm doing right now, and now I'm just reinforcing that current version of myself, which is to go and party or whatever. So I had to escape that. But looking back, like I don't think that was very healthy. You know, Gary Vee's biggest regret is to not socialize more when he was younger, because he just worked. And so I think I don't think it was completely beneficial, but there was no other way for me than to just, for like a year or so, I really didn't do anything except try and figure out what I'm going to do with my life, you know?
Yeah. And like, that was the thing for me, is like, I didn't enjoy partying, you know, like every time I went out and I was getting drunk with these people or whatever, like I didn't actually like it, which is what originally made me say, okay, no, I'm gonna like work, I'm gonna lock in, I'm not gonna go out, whatever. But over time, over 2-3 weeks, like that feeling of I hate this, I don't want this, starts to fade a little bit, and you start thinking, oh, it could actually be fun to go out, you know. Yeah. So what I started doing is I would go out. I actually did this in this week. Like I went out. It was on Thursday. I went out and like, you know, I saw an old friend of mine. We were chilling, whatever. And they just wanted to go to the next club, and like I was not feeling it whatsoever, because I'm at a point in my life where I know that I need to be better than that. So I came home. And I wasn't hungover, I wasn't like destroyed, but again, I was seeing exactly what I didn't want to be and what I didn't want to do. So even if you go out, maybe have one drink, maybe don't drink at all, but you just see what you don't want, and you come back, and you have the willpower to say, no, I'm not going to go out to the next club, I'm not going to keep going till 2 a.m. or whatever. Like, to me, that's like pulling back a catapult and then like shooting it super hard again.
That comes down to just introducing the contrast again, you know? It's
True.
like, and I think that's actually very powerful. I never thought of it actually like that. But I think there's a lot of beauty behind socializing. It's just the means how you do it, you know.
It's the old monk mode thing. I don't agree with that.
Monk mode,
because you're completely cutting out on that stage. You're like, you cut out everyone else. You're just locked in. Now you have this money, but then you have to kind of integrate yourself in society again. And then they're just like this rich dog standing there. So you still need to then learn socializing.
But it's like a sprint. It's only a sprint. You can't live in that mode.
I think if you were to do a monk mode, do it with people. Get a house somewhere, do it with people, so you're still maintaining, you know, you're not becoming like completely antisocial. You're still maintaining relationships.
Let's say right in the beginning, when you don't know anyone in the space, you don't have money, you don't have the results. Once again, it's in that no man's land. It's like you don't have the results to fit in with new people, but you don't want to be where you are anymore. So you're somewhere in the middle of like, fuck, I don't have any results, but I don't. It's a rocky cutscene. It's like in that moment, that is where I think a lot of people benefit from this winter org, monk mode, whatever. And I also think it's a bit bullshit. Like I don't do that at all anymore. But I have the privilege of a network, of people that I know. I have a bit of financial, backing behind me where I can now go to Bali, experiences with people. In the beginning, if you don't have that, I think it's a lot of value to try and kill off everything that is not what you want to be, and then sort of just reinforcing the ideal version of yourself. But I do agree, you can't do that over a long enough time frame, because there's so much value in not just wealth, but health, love, and happiness. Those other three are very important. And there's a balance in that for sure.
That's very true. I like what you said there about like cutting off everything that kind of contradicts who you want to be, But it's interesting, man. I was thinking about it now, because I know I just said I never did like monk mode where I locked in, but I actually did at the beginning of last year when I was trying to build my marketing agency. After that, I got into sales, then I got into e-com. Then I was like completely locked in, but I was battling demons mentally, man. Like I would like go for walks and I'd be like, who am I? Like, what am I doing? Like I'd like film myself, I still have the videos. It's crazy. But it's because I was literally completely isolated, and all I saw was what I wanted to be, and then I'd look in the mirror and see that I wasn't that person.
Oh, and that is like, dude, and that is so true. I think that there's a lot of good that comes from that, but also a lot of bad stuff, And I think you can really move, but that is literally, I think, the definition of operating out of a survival state, because it's literally like in the short term, that is probably a very good move. If you just look at 1, 2, 3 months of like, you probably get a lot of business done, but mentally and socially and relationships, and if you're not focusing on health in that point, like I never did not focus on my health, but if you give all of this stuff up just for financial incentive, like you will probably move the business forward much better, but long term you can't sustain that. On a completely different note, how long do you guys think we're filming right now?
Like 1 hour and 15 minutes.
1 hour and 15 minutes?
That's good.
What do you think? 1 hour and 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's probably around there. Like
Yeah, we started at 1.
Oh, you literally know how long it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's +1.
Because
So.
I like, you know, on this podcast, I guess how long we were going.
Oh yeah, you're usually quite good with that.
I'm like on the minute.
Oh, we should have put money on it, man. I mean, I got my watch
No,
on.
I've learned, bro. Like, I would not put money on it. But he's like a minute off usually, which is ridiculous. I think it's because he eyes, you know, the steak on the pan. It's like he's been 6 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know where that came from.
All right, well, I'll go back to like if you're just getting started and like you don't have a solid group of friends. Yes, don't completely cut people off, especially if you know they're your family and they care about you and
like that.
they'll kill someone for you. Don't do that, you know, just say, listen guys, I'm trying to build a business. I'm probably not going to see you for the next month or so. I'm going to be quite locked in. This is just very important to me. I hope you can understand. Leave it at that. And then take an overwhelming amount of action to the point where it disables the rational mind. To the point where you aren't actually thinking about, oh, I wish I could see people right now. I think the way to counteract that is to literally just take so much action that it, like I said, disables that like thinking mind, you know, and do everything. You know, if you have no skills, work on one main thing, but then when you're not doing that, either educate yourself on how to push that forward more or learn something else. Read books, just do everything that is pointing yourself into the direction of where you want to go, you know.
That's a very good point. We've been recording for about an hour.
I think it's good to wrap it up.
10 minutes, so I was about to say we can wrap it up. So we can sort of just do like final thoughts. Is there anything you wanted to maybe touch on that we didn't touch on in the podcast?
Do you have like a favorite book or book recommendation maybe?
Yeah, I think it really depends what stage people are at in their lives.
Yeah,
but I think getting the mind right is probably number one. One book that I've been reading, which has been extremely transformational, just not even transformational, I already knew these things, but it just helped me like conceptualize them better, is Reality Transurfing.
Oh, dude,
So
wow.
I definitely recommend people to read that book.
If you have not read that book, read that book. That's, I think, under his top 3.
I've read it like 4 times.
Yeah, it's an extremely good book. Yeah, bro, I think it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. And it's actually funny. We have never met in person before, but it actually feels like we've been mates for quite some time now.
Yeah. We've been going back and forth for a while.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. So, it was a privilege having you here, bro. And
thank you very much, guys. Thank you for the platform.
For being such a good host.
I've been a fan. I've been watching from afar.
Thanks,
so
man.
I'm rooting for you.
Yeah. We're all going to make it. So, thanks, guys, for watching this video. And if you haven't yet, go down in the description, have a look at the community, and we'll obviously link his socials here as well. Where can everyone find you just for
so it's Liam Bradshaw 1 on YouTube if you want to go watch my vlogs, and then it's Liam Bradshaw without an A on the second on the shore for the Instagram.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
All right. Cheers, boys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Awesome.
Good one.